This is David Kroodsma with Hub Culture. I'm joined by Mark Kenber, the Deputy Executive Director of the Climate Group. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Can you tell me more about the Climate Group and your role within it?
Well, we're a smallish organisation. We've been around for about 7 years. And our mission and what drives us is to push leadership to catalyse the shift to a low-carbon economy. We're trying to promulgate a clean industrial revolution that creates jobs, drives economic growth, but in a way that's compatible with keeping a safe climate for everyone. And we believe that's not only possible and essential, but it's also extremely desirable.
And are you here in Cancun then to coordinate between your members or to lobby the delegates to take action?
No, we don't do a lot of lobbying of delegates. When we do lobbying at all, it's not lobbying in the traditional sense. We work with governments around the world, but not here at the COP beforehand, helping them understand what business needs, understand what subnational governments and cities need, so that it's the how of the policies, not the what of the policies. What we're doing here is we bring together the many businesses that attend these meetings, along in particular with subnational governments. So today we've had a meeting of states and regional governments from all over the world, including from Quebec to South Australia, Sao Paulo in Brazil, 12 states of Mexico, from Africa, from Asia, from all over the world. And subnational governments who are really driving action for, kind of in a way putting their national governments to shame, the things that they're doing. Commitments on efficient lighting, commitments on electric vehicles, commitments on reforestation, across the board. Big, strong, tough targets and real actions to back them up.
So this is very interesting because you're working with subnational or local governments, and there's a big argument theoretically about why small governments should not go it alone. And they're kind of related, the ideas. One is that if you try to reduce carbon emissions somewhere, businesses that pollute will go to another state or another country. And the other is that there's this idea of competitiveness, that it actually costs money to reduce your emissions, so that state that goes alone will be at a disadvantage to others that don't.
I think the states and regions we work with give the lie to that, because they don't do it because of some moral imperative. You know, they're all mainly elected officials. They're not going to sacrifice the economics of their states on the altar of some moral high ground. They do it because they believe and they're proving that it's good for their economies. They're showing that resource efficiency, especially energy efficiency, having greater energy security by diversifying energy supplies, looking at new markets, working with their businesses to develop new products, create new jobs. That's all compatible. It's not either the environment or the economy. The two go hand in hand.
And you've more or less been doing this for a few years now, and you're showing that that's not true, that you can be a first mover on this and actually be very profitable.
The first movers are very profitable, and there are others that follow. I mean, what we found is we started off with just a few subnational governments from around the world. We now have more than 60 who've signed up to the Montreal Declaration, which was started 5 years ago, who are all working together, north, south, east, west, working on procurement, working on joined up policies, working with financial institutions, engaging the private sector, because they believe this is the way forward for their economies. Not only their environment, but for their economies. And their businesses back them on it.
So Mark, what is the biggest success story that you feel like you've seen in the Climate Group over the past year?
Well, if you think that a year ago we were coming out of Copenhagen and there was huge despondency over the future of the international process, which was unfair in a way, because while we didn't get the global deal we were looking for, vast numbers of countries came forward with pretty ambitious targets and goals they'd set themselves, not only industrialized countries, but countries like China, India, Brazil, Indonesia, Mexico all came forward, South Africa all came forward with ambitious targets that they'd set themselves. But nevertheless, Copenhagen was seen to be a failure. There was doubt about the science. We were in the middle of an economic recession. But by continuing to work with cities, subnational governments and businesses, we've managed to keep the momentum going. And I think a lot of the reason why around the world there is still conviction about doing something on climate change is because of the sort of work that we've been doing, showing them that this makes economic sense and it makes political sense. You don't have to believe the science. It makes it a lot easier if you do. But even without the science, for good economic reasons and for energy security reasons, it makes sense, as we were saying before.
And your groups are proving it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I think we've achieved. And there are lots of examples, specific examples. We've brought Chinese businesses together to push for more ambitious policies. We're working with Chinese cities. In the Midwest, we brought together a number of businesses, governors and other state leaders to show that there are real opportunities for new economy industry in the Midwest. And in Europe, we've worked with businesses and governments to raise Europe's ambition level.
Great. Well, Mark, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
I'm David Kroodsma with Hub Culture, joined by Mark Kenber, the Deputy Executive Director of the Climate Group.